live stream for Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. Maybe I'll do a live stream for NXT that is on tonight. Welcome back to my live stream, my YouTube channel. I probably should have did it last night, but I want to do it tonight. I didn't have time to do it last night because I fell asleep, so I couldn't do Monday Night Raw live stream. I'll do a 1 hour and 10-minute live stream for Monday Night Raw, and I will talk about SmackDown that was on Friday that I didn't do because I didn't have time to do it. Thought it wasn't that good, but I will do. We'll talk about Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, NXT. We'll talk about some news and rumors for AEW. This is Jacob Cast 2024. Hit that like button, leave a comment, please subscribe to my channel. Please let me know in the comment section below. Y'all want to see more? Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support. Now, while I play Fortnite, we will be talking about this. Alright. Yeah, so, we got, now what happened on SmackDown on Friday? Now we know that the War Games is set. I think we got one more week. I think next week the Go Home show, and then we get into War Games. But the War Games is set. Now what we saw on SmackDown. Well, have to wait. Make sure you guys hit that like button, leave a comment, please subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comment section below. Y'all want to see more? My video was sponsored by JD from New York, Solomon the Sound Off, Fightful Pro Wrestling, Good Mic Work Commentary, and Just Alex, Joe Cronin, No DQ, and other podcasters I know of. Alright, now let's get into the Friday Night SmackDown. Now what happened on SmackDown last week on Friday, we had the show opened up with Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky. Charlotte refused to work with Rhea Ripley and help them in War Games, so she left. But then she came back on Monday Night Raw and realized she had changed her heart. She changed her mind. We did get Jey Uso defeated The Miz to advance in the tournament to face John Cena. Ilya Dragunov had another open challenge where he defeated SCM. It was a very good match. That was the highlight of the match, by the way. That was match tonight. That was the best thing on SmackDown. Dragunov versus SCM for the U.S. title. That was a very good open challenge match. We also got Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa. They brawled for a bit. Now clearly setting that up next week on SmackDown. Well, now this week on SmackDown. Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa. Alright. We did get Zack Ryder. He made a surprising return. He took on, I believe it was LA Knight. Was it? Or, yeah, I think it was LA Knight. Zack Ryder came out, a big reaction. He had a different theme song than last time. It's been like 5 years since Zack Ryder was live with the company. But they had a very good match. Yeah, so, we did get a Backstage 7 with Asuka, Nia, and Jack. They attacked the babyfaces backstage. We did get Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill disrespect Meechan after a dominant win over B-Fab. And then SmackDown closed out with the heel Thin Tall, Braun Strowman and Braun Breaker. Drew McIntyre joined division to help fight against War Games. Local Paul's on their side. Yeah, so the heel turned tall. They beat up Cody Rhodes, the Usos. Now we did get Bronson Reed versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. The match didn't last that long. This match got thrown out. Yeah, so that was SmackDown. It wasn't bad. It wasn't that anything interesting. Alright, so hold on. Yeah, so that's all I talked about was on SmackDown. Come on now. Hold on. Alright, so that's all I gotta talk about. Okay, so alright, hold on. Alright, now let's get back into Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw, Madison Square Garden, John Cena's final Raw of his career. Now the show opened up with John Cena, the new Intercontinental Champion. Dominic interrupted, and then we got a brawl, and Sheamus and Rey Mysterio came out, and then we got a six-man tag. John Cena's last match on Raw, teaming up with Rey Mysterio and Sheamus against the Judgment Day, Dom, Balor, and JD McDonough. Now the babyfaces went over here. They look strong. We are getting John Cena and Dominic in a rematch at Survivor Series for the Intercontinental Champion, and the match is kind of unpredictable. I'm not sure who's going to win. Is Dom going to win back in his hometown in San Diego, or is John going to retain? Because I think it's pretty obvious who's going to win the tournament. It could be Gunther. Hopefully it's not Solo. Maybe LA Knight. That would be interesting. But I don't know who's going to win. Now we did now the six-man tag was pretty good. I think my favorite highlight was that Sheamus and Ray and Cena did the Sheamus move, the blow, what's it called? The 10 beat. That was interesting. I actually love how they all hit their finisher at the end. Bro kick, AA, Rey Mysterio hit a double 619. So that was a great way to end the show. That was a great way to end the match. Now, other that happened on the show, we did get we got Nikki Bella attacking Stephanie Valkyrie. Now we know Nikki Bella, she turned heel last week. I was there last week in Boston. And they did announce the match for Survivor Series. Stephanie Valkyrie will defend her Women's World Championship against Nikki Bella at Survivor Series. It's going to be a one-off, just a filler feud to give Stephanie an opponent for her to run through and help her get over as a babyface. So, it should be a good match. 7 heel was alright. Nikki Bella's only a temporary heel. And also, we got the return of Dolph Ziggler. He came out, he took on Solo Sikoa. That was a very good match. It's also part of the 16 tournament. So Solo be a returning Dolph Ziggler. He now advances in the tournament. It's looking pretty good. We also got Charlotte came out. She saved Alexa and Rhea and Io. So Charlotte is now gonna join War Games. We did get some celebrities against going after Judgment Day. Now the other big thing, Maxine Dupree beat Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Champion with a returning AJ Lee. AJ Lee came back, first time since WrestlePalooza, we haven't seen her, but she came back, she screwed Becky Lynch and helped Maxine win the IC title. And then we saw that day Rhea Ripley was talking to AJ Lee. You got a second? You got a favor? And then we had another segment with Asuka and Becky Lynch. So clearly, we are going to get a 5-on-5 for the women, just like we're getting it for the men. We are going to see AJ Lee and Becky Lynch in the war game for the women. It's already going to be confirmed. So yeah, I can't wait. And what I like about the war game, everyone has a history and a story. Now, the best match that was also great was also Gunther defeating Javon Evans. Javon Evans from NXT. So I guess he made his first Raw debut on this show. He had a very good match with Gunther. That was great. Gunther, we haven't seen Gunther since SummerSlam. It's pretty obvious that Gunther's going to win the tournament and face John Cena. That means John Cena might lose to Dominic for the IC title. I think if we're obvious it's going to be Gunther, who's going to be Gunther? The way how the tournament happened, but with it's been kind of lackluster. We had a returning Dolph Ziggler, Zack Ryder, who are on TNA, by the way. They weren't going to win it. Javon Evans, he from NXT, he's not going to win it. The original Obafemi. Gunther, who going to beat Gunther in the tournament? It's not going to be Solo, I don't think. I don't know if it's going to be LA Knight. I think Gunther's going to win. Now, how the show ended was a face-to-face with the men's War Games. CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, the Usos, again, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Braun Strowman, and Braun Breaker. We got the return of Brock Lesnar. He came out and attacked everyone. He has history with Punk and Cody. And then we got the return of Roman Reigns. He came out. Yeah, so, yeah. Alright, so, alright, okay, so, yeah. Now, first I gotta get to a safe break and I'll get back to my podcast. I didn't want to let y'all hear my podcasters and my friends here to talk about this show. Now, there are some news and rumors that I want to show you here first. The news and rumors. Hold on a second. Alright. Hold on. Alright. Hold on a second. Now here are the news and rumors that I want to show y'all. Now this is JD from New York. He's gonna talk about SmackDown. Now we know the news and rumors that WWE is making SmackDown work by move back to 3 hours.
Now, I've had a couple of days to sit with this. We're going to talk about this. We're actually going to go over some of what I thought of SmackDown as well, because I've taken enough time away from the office. I got to get some content out there. I'm itching to talk about some of these things. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about SmackDown. We're going to talk about why it's not good to go back to 3 hours, why the show doesn't need to be 3 hours, why the show worked at 3 hours, but now it doesn't, what changes they need to make sure that this is a lot better than the last time they went back to 3 hours. We're going to talk about it all. Right here today, we're also going to talk about Zack Ryder being back. Matt Cardona, where is he? I don't know. But Zack Ryder's back on WWE TV for the time being. He was in the John Cena last time. He's now tournament against LA Knight. Charlotte Flair right now is off the War Games team for the women. And Drew McIntyre is now a part of the Vision, working hand in hand with Paul Heyman. We'll go over all that today on Off the Script. It is your Sunday, November 16th, 2025. Oh, my goodness, man. SmackDown's going back to 3 hours. WrestleVotes, you've seen the tweet. This is not confirmed by any stretch of the imagination. The change will not happen until after the holidays have concluded, but it won't be much longer after New Year's Eve. January 2nd is the date that they go back to 3 hours. KeyBank Center in Buffalo is currently scheduled to be the first SmackDown to return to the 3-hour block, according to WrestleVotes. SmackDown started 2025 off, if you guys remember, as a 3-hour show, but that last hour was dropped back on the 4th of July. I hope that's more of the same. We'll actually get into that a little bit as well. There's no confirmation from WWE or USA Network that the show is changing formats once again. As of this writing, it's not hard to imagine both parties jumping at an opportunity to bring in additional revenue with the extra hour of programming. You know, there are several fans, thousands of fans, that did not grow up in the period where we were given 3-hour Raws for a good 13-year stretch. A time that I do not ever want to go back and relive again. Shows that I will probably never go back and ever watch again. Just an awful time. Not to say that there weren't memorable moments or things that popped us, but 3 hours for a weekly professional wrestling show is just awful. It is absolutely awful. See, this is what we complain about when Tony Khan wants to do 7-hour pay-per-view marathons. It's unnecessary. Nobody wants to sit through 7 hours of anything. Ever. There are people who agree with this move. Why? I don't know. The only thing I could come up with is the fact that they didn't relive those 3-hour Monday Night Raws for over a decade. There are a lot of newer fans. There are newer fans that don't really care about what happened back in the day, have no idea what happened back in the day, the nuances of the way things were done back in the day compared to how they're done today. They don't care. None of them care. None of them care to know, and they don't want to know anything. They were conditioned, and they were raised on 3-hour Monday Night Raws, and they think that we have the need for 3-hour SmackDown. Monday night operated the best at 2 hours, which is why I was so thrilled. It was a very good decision on WWE's behalf. When Monday Night Raw moved to Netflix, we were given 2.5 hours. That is the sweet spot. If you don't want to do 3 hours, do 2.5 hours. And that's exactly what they did. Now, Monday Night Raw, it has its problems, but by far and away, it is the best WWE show of the week. It feels important. It feels big. They got a better roster. There's just more of a must-see factor on Monday night than there is compared to a Friday night. I don't know what SmackDown's doing on Friday, but it genuinely feels like there's two separate writing teams. It almost feels like a completely different company, honestly. It feels like someone from WWE is running Monday Night Raw, and it feels like something out of an AEW nightmare on Friday night. It's like a bunch of clueless hacks running Friday Night SmackDown that don't know what the fuck to do. 2-hour Raws were it. 2-hour Raws were it. We grew up. Us, the smart people, grew up with 2-hour Raws. We all knew that was the right place to be. Then we moved to 3 hours, and there was a subsection of fans that grew up with that and realized that was the way. They only knew that. And now they're conditioned to think that 3 hours is the best thing for every WWE show. Longer pro wrestling is better for pro wrestling. It's not. SmackDown does not need to be 3 hours. The only reason why they're moving SmackDown back to 3 hours is because of greed. That is it. They're moving SmackDown back to 3 hours for more advertising revenue and more advertising opportunities. They're also moving SmackDown back to 3 hours because the ratings for SmackDown have absolutely fallen off a cliff, which in this case doesn't make any sense. They've fallen off of a cliff, and they feel like with the extra hour that maybe that could be recouped going into the winter months. WWE's paying attention to the ratings. WWE sees the decline in the overall viewership and the demographic with the new Nielsen ratings and how they are calculated.
Without the ones like you working tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. No matter your industry, Grainger's here for you with professional-grade supplies. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
SmackDown doesn't need to be 3 hours. A complete idiot thinks SmackDown needs to be 3 hours. It doesn't. They just got back to conditioning us, and they just got back to formatting a 2-hour show. Now they have to go back and start to train themselves on how to do 3 hours on a Friday night. From 3 hours to 2 hours, now back to 3 hours. What do you think that does mentally to the writing team? They can't even get 2 hours right. Now you're asking them to extend the show, which does not need to be extended. On most weeks, you could get everything you need out of SmackDown in 20 minutes. You're asking these people to write a 3-hour program on Friday, again, with the current state of the show? How do you look at that as a good thing? Who is benefiting from 3 hours? People think, oh, well, this will give more time to the women's division. Who? Who exactly do you want to see on television? Out of 3 hours SmackDown every Friday night, who do you want to see on television? Mia Yim? B-Fab? Did you see Jade Cargill and B-Fab on Friday? Oh my God, I wanted to pull my fucking eyeballs out. Yes, that's exactly what we need to do. Extend SmackDown to 3 hours so we can get more Jade Cargill and B-Fab. There is nobody on that active roster on Friday night that even deserves television time. Yes, let's move SmackDown back to 3 hours so we could get Kit Wilson on Friday night so he could spread his message about toxic masculinity. Bro, shut the fuck up. You should not be engaging in any pro wrestling discussion whatsoever. SmackDown worked at 3 hours when it was working. During the Rock, Cody finishing his sorry era. During the Bloodline era. It worked. Do you want to know why it worked, chat? Do you want to know why SmackDown at 3 hours wasn't as bad as people are making it out to be now? And do you know why SmackDown is suffering now? And why it's only going to be made worse now? The one pissing. Yes, I'll be fucking pissing my sorrows away watching this fucking show. The one thing that's missing from this show is story. You don't get a sense. There is not even a fucking iota of a story off this show that keeps you engaged, that keeps you interested, that keeps you in this mindset of, you know what, I can't wait to watch next week's show. I can't wait until this week is over, and I can't wait to get excited to see what's happening next week on Friday Night SmackDown. Story. Why it worked so well during the Bloodline era is because there was so much story coming out of the Bloodline, and so much story with the revolving characters in the Bloodline, and the tensions within the Bloodline, with the Honorary Uce, with Jimmy, with Jay, with Roman, with Jay and Roman, Jay and Jimmy, Jay and Sammy, Solo Sikoa being fucking an absolute dominating force as an enforcer, as the right-hand man to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns on television more than we see him now. Paul Heyman. The segments that we got, the in-ring, backstage segments that we were given with them, they totally own the show. We could not get enough of the Bloodline. It is easy to write a 3-hour SmackDown when you can give me fucking Samoan trials or whatever the fuck they did, and in-ring segments, Honorary Uce. It's easy to write a 3-hour show when you got those 5 guys, 6 guys, taking up a half an hour to 40 minutes of an opening segment. It's almost as if you can go and do a 2-hour show, but give those guys 40 minutes of the 3 hours. It is easy to do that. Just give them the ball, give Heyman and those guys the story, and let them write. And let them give us good television. And then it doesn't even matter what happened over the course of the next 2 hours. You can give me mediocre fucking this and that. Second.
At Wayfair, the holidays are here and...
I am not ready.
I know.
Down. The best story that they were telling for weeks was the Miz and Carmelo Hayes. And a fucking second grader could write that story. Their level of storytelling is throwing Ilya Dragunov or Sami Zayn out there for a United States Open Challenge, and that's what they want people to come back and watch every week for. The unpredictability of who's going to challenge for the United States Championship. There's no story there. You want more MFTs? I don't. There's not one singular thing on that show that's gonna keep your interest over 3 hours. It's not the length of the show. It is the fact that they have nothing going on in the time that they're on the air. There needs to be an absolutely major shift in talent from NXT to SmackDown or Raw to SmackDown. There needs to be a transfer window. There needs to be a draft. There needs to be something that's going to make this roster feel more full. The fact that I'm looking to... McIntyre has an issue with CM Punk. McIntyre has an issue with Cody Rhodes. So his inclusion is deep. It runs deep into this War Games match. Now with Cody on the babyface side, McIntyre's inclusion makes sense as to why Cody is on. We'll go over that this week as well. You know, I look at 2025, and I actually get depressed. Watching all the pro wrestling that we watch, looking at all the things that happened this year, I look back at this year and I don't look back at it very kindly. In fact, when the year's over, I'm going to be happy it's over because I didn't really like much of anything this year. Every single promotion you watch has a problem. Big ones. WWE and their corporate side, lack of storytelling, commercial after commercial and advertisement after advertisements. Triple H lying through his fucking asshole every single week. And then blaming the media for our criticisms of the WWE product because we're not allowed to have an opinion because we're not in the business. They got problems. And largely their television this year has been awful. You look at AEW. Absolutely clueless. A sinking ship. Bigger than anything I've ever seen. Money matches, random matches where I'm told that there's story, but there really isn't anything to care about. It's where the best wrestle, though. It's all they care about. It's all they care about. A myriad and plethora of titles that don't mean anything. Fandom. Push through the pain of...
Go ahead, make your day. Samsung OLED S95.
26. In a venue that holds 8 and greed. Not. If the wasn't filming and posting live video on his Twitter. Let me know what you guys think about this situation. I was kind of waffling.
Hold on a second, I'm about to see my other podcasters.
Around that. So I don't know if this is going to be the new annual thing. We're going into the Rumble and WrestleMania. They add another hour onto the show. And for the most part, there are a lot of people who obviously do not like this decision. There are people who love the decision and who think, oh, this is great. This is great. More time for talent on this show. And I'm floored by some of these reactions. Because to me, and I'm going to get more into this on Sunday, but to me, maybe I'm crazy. The issue here is not one of, oh, this show is not long enough. That's not the issue here. This is what some people don't really understand. The issue is not that the show is not long enough. The issue is that in the time that they have for this show each week, in the 2 hours that they are given every Friday on USA, on SmackDown, they are not making the most of the time that they have. And this idea that the show cannot be as good as it can be unless we have 3 hours, that it's not possible for SmackDown to be all that it could be unless the show is expanded by another 60 minutes is just, it blows my mind that this is how some people think. And I really think people have been brainwashed. I really do. I think there's a lot of newer fans. I think there's a lot of younger fans who didn't become fans of WWE until the last decade, right? 10, 12, 15 years. And so they have been conditioned by 3-hour Raws that we had for so many years to believe that this is the way that wrestling shows should be. But the show has to be 3 hours, and if it's not, well, then it can't possibly be as great as it can be. And it is just such flawed logic to me. My philosophy is very simple. If 2 hours is not enough for you to put out a consistently good television show and you feel the need to expand that show in order to make it good, you're doing something wrong. Something is very wrong in that situation, because I don't know about you, but I grew up for a very long time watching wrestling shows that were 2 hours every single week. In some cases, wrestling shows that were not even 2 hours. And there were a lot of really good ones in there. There were some shitty ones, but there were a lot of really good wrestling shows in there. 2 hours is more than enough time, 2.5, if you watch Raw on Monday nights, to tell stories that are compelling, to tell stories that are interesting, and to tell stories that people are going to want to tune in the following week to watch. And to rotate talent in and out, even if they're not on the show consistently every single week, that's okay. Because not everybody has to be on every single show. And I don't know why some people are incapable of admitting that WWE has done a very poor job these last several months when it comes to SmackDown, more so than Raw. Raw also has weeks where it's like, but for the most part, Raw, it feels like it's a show that's being written by a completely different writing team. It feels like Raw is in a totally different universe on most weeks as compared to what we see on Friday nights, and I don't really understand why.
I used to lack confidence until I shopped for a used car with Carfax. With Carfax, I was able to...
We see on Friday nights, and I don't really understand why. But this is where we are right now. A show that at one point was the A show, and not all that long ago, has been anything but. So excuse me if I'm sitting here and I'm not terribly excited about the news that this show is going to expand and get even longer in a few months. Because there are some very, very big changes that need to be made to SmackDown before I will ever get excited about getting more SmackDown. Now, I am of the impression, I am of the belief, I am of the opinion, I've always said this, that there is no wrestling show. I don't care what company, I don't care the quality of the show. There is no wrestling show that needs to be 3 hours long every single week. I've always been consistent about that, and I still feel that way. But if WWE, if USA Network, whoever made the call, it might have been a USA call, but it doesn't matter, right? WWE loves getting the extra content. The reality of the situation is this. This is going to happen. And we're all going to be tuned in because we're heading into Rumble season. We're heading into WrestleMania season, right? That's part of the reason why this is happening. I don't know what that means for Braun Strowman's show that's on after SmackDown. Maybe it's the off season for the show, because he just got informed that his show was renewed, I believe. Or no, it wasn't renewed. I'm sorry. He was celebrating. The ratings went up for the most recent episode, and he was hoping the show would get renewed. I don't know what this means for the Strowman show that airs immediately after SmackDown. This is going to happen. There's nothing anybody can do about it. And what I would like to see, what has to happen, changes have to be made to this show. You watch the show every week, you know where the weaknesses are. You know where the holes are in the show. You know where they need to shore up the roster. You can tell just by watching the show consistently every single week what a lot of those changes are that need to be made. The women's division, right? The tag team division. We're going in circles with a lot of the same faces over and over and over again. It's been a long time since we've had any kind of roster shakeup on this show. A move here and there, but that's not enough. Lash Legend called up from NXT to the main roster last week. Great. That's not enough. Major changes have to be made. And if this move helps facilitate those changes, then great. But I have been given no reason to have faith that this grand change is going to wash over SmackDown overnight. It's going to take time. It has to happen. We cannot get this show that we are seeing now every single week, but with a few extra MFT segments sprinkled in. I can't do it. I can't do it. There's a wall over here, a perfectly good wall. I'm going to bang my head against the wall. Changes need to be made to this show. The only good thing that could come out of this is if it forces them to make those changes. But it all goes back to creative. So again, don't assume that just because the show is moving to 3 hours, it means that everything's going to be great again. Because at one time, when the show was 3 hours, it was actually really good. It comes down to the writing and the creative and what you are doing with the talent that you have on the show. But the talent, again, there's so many different areas of this show that need to be improved upon, fixed, shaken up. That's my hope. That's really all we can do, is sit and wait and hope that the show improves on its own so that when the show gets longer, it'll be easier to digest. I'll have a lot more to say about the 3-hour stuff on the podcast this weekend, but that's my thoughts on 3 hours. Not happy about it because this show is in dire need of help. Hopefully they get the help it needs. But tonight it was 2 hours. We're not there yet. We still have several weeks before the show moves to the 3-hour format. Cody Rhodes defended his WWE Championship on the show tonight. Didn't you know that? It was unannounced. It was an impromptu match. It was made earlier in the night. He defended his title against Bronson Reed, who was not a contracted SmackDown talent. But that was the main event. And boy, you know, Cody comes out first, then Bronson, the challenger, comes out next. And it didn't feel like a WWE Championship match. It was very cold, not a lot of enthusiasm for it, and honestly, it was more of an angle than a match. The match got thrown out, DQ. They never bother announcing the actual finishes to these matches, but the match was thrown out when the other members of the Vision, Team Vision, heading into Survivor Series, they came out, including the newest addition to the heel team at Survivor Series, Drew McIntyre, the same Drew McIntyre who was suspended by Nick Aldis 1 week ago. So it lasted all of a week, but yes, Drew McIntyre is now back. And now that leaves one spot open on the heel side. On the babyface side, we pretty much know what the War Games team now is going to be. Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Jey Uso, we already knew about them. They're in there. Jimmy Uso has added his name to the list. That leaves one spot open on the men's War Games team. And gee, I wonder who's going to fill that spot in. Perhaps we'll find out at Madison Square Garden this Monday. Who is missing from TV right now who could help fill in a spot on the babyface side? I wonder. Yeah, so the babyface side is complete. The only thing we need to find out, really, honestly, is who takes the fifth and final spot on the heel side, and I think we have a pretty good sense of who that's probably going to end up being. Paul Heyman has a friend, he'll call in a favor, and there's your men's War Games match. And one of the things they did on the show tonight, which, by the way, was marginally better than last week's show. I know that's a very low bar, but it was a better show than last week. Not great, but it was a better show than last week. But what they did tonight was take steps to help fill the gaps, in some of the gaps anyway, in terms of the War Games matches coming up at Survivor Series. So on the women's side, they actually injected some drama into things, because all of a sudden, even though they were all standing united at the end of Raw Monday night, Charlotte Flair realized, hey, you know what? I just remembered, I don't like you, Rhea Ripley. I don't like you, I don't trust you, and I don't want to team with you. So we had Charlotte Flair walking out on her teammates, which means that they are in need now of not just one, but two partners now, because it is going to be 5-on-5. And the reason they did that is because they have a few weeks left until the PLE, and they want to build some drama and intrigue. Of course, Charlotte Flair is going to be in War Games. Now we have to wait and see what it takes to bring her back into the fold. So that is why they shot that angle tonight. We also had two more matches tonight in the John Cena Last Time Is Now tournament, including the return of a former WWE superstar, the return of a former WWE Intercontinental Champion on the show tonight to wrestle LA Knight. We had another United States Championship Open Challenge with Ilya Dragunov putting his title on the line, still consistently the best thing on this show. And we are getting a traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination style match. Not at Survivor Series, but they are resuscitating the old traditional Survivor Series elimination format, which is something that I was hoping Triple H would start doing. I think if doing one traditional match on the actual PLE each year would be cool. They've chosen to do it on TV the night before. At least we're getting one. I can't say that the lineup is terribly exciting, but I was hoping we would at least get one. We'll talk about how they set things up on that end tonight as we get into this 2-hour edition of SmackDown. It is Friday night, November 14th, 2025. I am the Solid Monster. Thank you for spending your Friday night with me here on the channel. Please subscribe and like. Hit those buttons. We are celebrating 18 years of the Sound Off all November long. You guys have been killing it so far. We're almost, basically halfway through the month already. I was going to set up another goal, super chat goal in the chat for potentially unlocking a new installment of RSPW Rewind, but YouTube, for whatever reason, is glitching out. So it would not let me set a goal, so we'll see how we do tonight. We'll see how we do tonight, and we'll take it from there. But super chats are open, so get them on in, and I will be reading all of your questions, comments, later on here in the stream. Look who's with us.
Thanks, guys.
Look who is with us tonight, Sidro. Sidro is joining us.
You probably know Vistaprint for business cards, but did you know we print everything you need to brand your business? We print banners and signs that help you stand out, and must-have merch like tote bags, t-shirts, and hoodies. Right now, new customers can get 20% off with code NEW20, because if you need it, we print it at Vistaprint.com.
I have one pair of skinny jeans, and I'm going to wear them every week just to piss you off.
And True Crime Unleashed is with us as well. Hey, True Crime. Hey, Sidro, what am I, your guma? What is this? Your usual client is busy tonight, so hey, I'm going to go see the side piece. Is that what we're doing here tonight? I see you, Sidro. Now, before we get into this review, I needed to bring this up and show you guys something, because this was going around today. I saw this, and I didn't think it was real at first, but then I laughed my ass off when I realized that it actually was. You know, the last time that I visited the Empire State, and I live in New York my whole life, so of course the Empire State Building is in New York. The last time I visited the Empire State Building Observatory, it's funny because I actually remember exactly the day that I went up there and visited the observatory, because it was June of 2010, and the reason I remember that is because it was a Monday night. Funny enough, it was a special 3-hour episode of Monday Night Raw. But it was the night that the Nexus attacked John Cena in the main event, right? One of the more memorable angles in Raw history. I made it home just in time to see that whole thing play out. And I can tell you that what I'm about to show you definitely wasn't there, because this is going back, again, 15 years. But this is actually in the Empire State Building. And they have this as part of a whole display of different items. This is a WWE replica championship belt. Now, I want to draw your attention to the placard in the lower left corner of your screen there. You see it says WrestleMania 35. Has a few wrestler names on there. Becky Lynch, Daniel Bryan. But then I will point out to you the name in the middle of the nameplate, where it says Bobley Lashley. Yes, Bobley Lashley. What the fuck is a Bobley Lashley? Can somebody please explain this to me and how this wasn't noticed and how this hasn't been fixed? Because apparently this has been up for a while, apparently. Or again, it wasn't there when I was last up in the observatory, but I don't know. Now look, if AEW doesn't jump on this and start marketing some Bobby Lashley bobbleheads and calling them Bobley Lashley, then I don't know what the fuck we're doing here. But then again, I don't understand how they haven't started selling those Monet puppets, even if they're just, cheap material. Look, I think it could always be worse, right? It could have been Blobly. Could have been Blobby Lashley. Can you imagine? Oh, man. I don't get it, man. You have one job. The disrespect is just unbelievable. Bobley Lashley. It's ridiculous. Alright, enough of that. They recap the end of Raw on Monday night when the Kabuki Warriors won the women's tag team titles. We had the return of Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. They came out to make the save. And so that was where Rhea said War Games, and we had a sense of what the women's War Games match was going to be at Survivor Series. Why those three names? Leopoldo, that's a great question. I have no idea. I don't know why they selected Becky Lynch, Bobley Lashley, and Daniel Bryan. That is very weird. I don't even remember if Bobley Lashley had a match at WrestleMania 35. Was he even on the card? I was there, I should know. I don't even remember. I don't remember him having a match. That's all I'm going to think now when I see him on TV, like a bobblehead, Bobley Lashley. Anyway, Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, they were the first ones out to the ring. Rhea said the Kabuki Warriors thought that they were untouchable since she's been out with a broken nose. If you add Nia Jax and Lash Legend to the mix, they think they have the numbers advantage, but all they've ended up with are more enemies. Io said making enemies always catches up to you, and then she shouted, War Game. Everyone loves doing that. Everyone's got to shout War Games at the top of their lungs. Oh, man. Poor Bobley. Did he face Balor on that show? Demon Balor? Are you sure about that? God, I have no memory of this. Bobby Lashley wrestled Finn Balor at WrestleMania 35. Like, I was in the building that night. I have no recollection of this whatsoever. I know they stuck a match in there kind of last minute between Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre because Roman had just come back. He had been, in remission from the leukemia, so he came back kind of close to Mania. I remember that. Kofi, right? Kofi Mania, the women's main event. Randy Orton and AJ Styles. I remember all that. That's a match I don't remember. Apparently, it didn't leave a very big impression on me.
At Bay Fortis, we know babies are full of surprises, but serious RSV doesn't have to be one.
Impression on me. Rhea then introduced two of their teammates for War Games. Out come Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Alexa said the Kabuki Warriors, Nia and Lash, they started it, we're going to finish it. The second that Rhea said War Games on Monday, she knew they were in. Charlotte then told Rhea, look, I can't do this. I can't pretend anymore. She says, I don't like you. I don't trust you. I think you're a snake. Charlotte said that there was too much history between them to look past it. She told Alexa, look, if you want to do it, you can, but you're going to have to count me out. And with that, Charlotte left the ring, and she walked to the back. And everybody in the ring was confused. I was confused because why would you wait? I'm thinking about this, and have you... of John Cena's active career. Tonight was the final Raw that you would get to see John Cena in the ring. Because I'm so excited I bumped the fucking camera. I knocked the camera over. Look at this shit. You believe this? Man! John Cena. One last time in the ring on Monday Night Raw tonight. This was a very newsworthy, very eventful, very fun episode of Raw. There was a lot going on. Honestly, one of the best Raws all year. Coming off one of the worst SmackDowns all year last week. Actually, the week before last. So the difference between the two shows at the moment, it is quite striking, I must say. But John Cena was all about him tonight. The new Intercontinental Champion, he came out. What were they going to do with him here on the show tonight? What would he do at Survivor Series? Because, so we're only a couple of weeks away, 2.5 weeks away, whatever it is, from Survivor Series, and there really was a big question mark as to what John Cena would be doing on that show. We know he's going to be in San Diego. He's always been advertised for that show. Would they just simply run back a rematch between him and Dominic Mysterio from last week? Would they have him maybe in his first ever War Games match? That was also a very distinct possibility. Well, now we have our answer as far as what John Cena is going to be doing on that show. And in fact, he will be wrestling Dominic Mysterio in a rematch for the Intercontinental Championship. So his match at that show is now set. Tonight was also about the Last Time Is Now tournament. Who will wrestle John Cena December 13th in his final match on Saturday night's main event? And we had 2 more matches in the tournament tonight. Solo Sikoa was wrestling a mystery man. And the other match is the one that the one thing on the show tonight, really more than anything else, that I was most looking forward to was Gunther, who we have not seen since SummerSlam, taking on Javon Evans. And now that we know there's no more mystery people in the tournament, we already know all the names in the Last Time Is Now tournament. Javon Evans was the only representative from NXT in this tournament, which I will say is quite disappointing. You know, now that we can see who's in the tournament and kind of get a sense of where things are going, I will say they could have done a better job with this tournament. But this was the match I was most looking forward to in the entire thing. I was hoping we might get it later on at the tournament, give Javon a few wins on his way to the match with Gunther, but they gave it to us tonight. It did not disappoint. As far as who Solo Sikoa stepped into the ring with, we had a return tonight of a former WWE star, very much in the same vein of what we saw on SmackDown Friday night, where LA Knight had a mystery opponent, and out came Matt Cardona, only he wasn't Matt Cardona, he was Zack Ryder, because that's the last time people would have seen him on WWE television. He was Zack Ryder. Well, tonight, it was Nick Nemeth. Only he didn't come out as Nick Nemeth. He came out as Dolph Ziggler, because that is how the WWE audience would remember him. That's the last time we saw him. He was Dolph Ziggler on TV. So he was the big surprise there. But you talk about surprises. They loaded up for bear with the surprises on this show tonight, even though they weren't all surprised. I mean, we kind of knew at least some of the names that were likely going to be on the show tonight. But they loaded this show up with a lot of big names, and the biggest among them, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. And there's only one reason they would be on the show tonight, and that is if they are going to be a part of the War Games match, which in fact they are. That now rounds out the teams, because it was 4-on-4 coming into tonight. Now we know what the field is going to be. Now we know it's 5-on-5. Roman Reigns on the babyface side, Brock Lesnar as a favorite of Paul Heyman. He is the 5th man on Team Vision. I guess we can call it Team Vision, even though there's only 2 members technically of the Vision that are on this team. But they saved those 2 returns for the very end of the show. We had a Women's Intercontinental Championship match tonight. We talk about Women's War Games. Becky Lynch was defending her title tonight against Maxine Dupree. They've been feuding now for a few months. Maxine came into this show with 2 wins over Becky Lynch, none of which were by, submission or any sort of decisive win. But, wins nonetheless. And so tonight, the championship was on the line. The question is, would they have Maxine beat her for a third time?
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than just Peyton Manning. I'm also motivating Manning.
Would this be the night that AJ Lee would make her return? Would AJ Lee factor into the finish of the match, which is what I've been talking about? Because we have not seen AJ Lee since WrestlePalooza, which was almost 2 months ago. And not only did we get the return of AJ Lee tonight, it directly led into the finish of the match, which was Maxine Dupree pinning Becky Lynch to become the new Women's Intercontinental Champion. Yes, Maxine Dupree won a singles title in this company before Chad Gable did. I really don't know what to say to that, but here we are. This is the world we live in. But good for her. I mean, she was as shocked as anybody. I think her parents were there. This was like a big moment for her first championship win, and it comes in Madison Square Garden. And it's going to directly now, I believe, feed into Women's War Games and who fills out those last two spots. Because Women's War Games at the moment is still 4-on-4. It will not be for much longer. We saw the backstage segment later in the show where Rhea Ripley wanted to have a conversation with AJ Lee. We're going to get AJ on one side. We're going to get Becky Lynch on the other. And that's going to be your Women's War Games field, 5-on-5. Team AJ, Team Becky. So now we know, right? Whatever questions we had that were still lingering as far as War Games coming into tonight, even though the women's stuff is not official yet, but now we know where things are headed as far as that goes. The other thing also about Women's War Games, I say that the fields are complete at 5-on-5 because Charlotte Flair was back on the show tonight, coming to the rescue, really more so of her friend, Alexa Bliss, not so much Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, but they certainly left you with the impression that she was going to end up joining on the babyface side, even after the angle they just did on Friday night. They've already negated the angle that they did on SmackDown on Friday night. They rushed right into this. Charlotte, she was right back on TV tonight. I don't even know what the point, frankly, of what we saw on Friday was, if they were just going to rush right into it. But again, it looks like we have our 5-on-5 field. And for all the problems that I've talked about in recent weeks when it comes to SmackDown, and there are a lot of them, and on top of that, the show's going to 3 hours, as if that's going to make it any better. SmackDown's got a lot of problems, but I will say, you watch a show like the one that we got tonight, and part of the problem with SmackDown is you watch a loaded episode of Raw like this, and you see what they gave us on tonight's show. And I get it was the Garden, and it was a special night for Cena, but we got John Cena on the show tonight, right? He hasn't been on SmackDown. His last SmackDown was, months ago, right? 2 months ago. So we got John Cena on the show. We had the returns of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar and AJ Lee, and even Dolph Ziggler made an appearance here on the show. What is left for Friday? Like, what's left for Friday? They get the scraps. That show could use all the help it can get. And it didn't do SmackDown this week any favors by loading up this Raw show the way that they did. But I got to give a shout out to Brian. Shout out to Brian Bird. I chuckled when he tweeted this to me, but when the show was over, he did send me this. He goes, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, AJ Lee, Rey Mysterio, Nikki Bella. He goes, man, this Raw from 2013 was lit. And I'm like, you know what? He's kind of got a point. It does feel in some way like we have fallen into a time warp. And we've gone back by about 12 or 13 years with all the names we saw on the show tonight. But it did make for a fun show. We'll talk about the whole thing here. This is your Raw on Netflix review. It is Monday night. It is November 17th, 2025, not 2013, even though it might feel like it. I am the Solid Monster. It strikes me now that I say that date out loud, November 17th. It was it 30? No, it was 29. 29 years ago tonight, on this very day, at Madison Square Garden, Psycho Sid beat Shawn Michaels at Madison Square Garden to win the WWF Championship. in that very building that they ran tonight. How about that? Believe it or not, that's actually one of my favorite matches at Survivor Series. Best match of Sid's career. Shawn Michaels and Sid at MSG. That was when the crowd turned on Shawn Michaels that night. And they were very happy to see Sid win the title for the first time. And that's right, Rock. That's right, Rock made his debut on the Survivor Series that night as well. He was the sole survivor for his team. So there you go. That was like an afterthought. That guy, The Rock. Whatever happened to that Rocky Maivia guy? That's right. I was thinking, like, did anything else of note happen on that show? I'm like, nah, I don't think so. Yes, the fucking Rock debuted that night. Anyway, like and subscribe. Super chats are open. And I will be reading through all of your messages. Oscar will join me. I will be reading through all of your messages, as we always do here on the stream. It's the least I can do for you, so get them on in. We do have Alex, thank you very much. Activating Bree mode. Bree was not on the show. Nikki was on the show, but not Bree. I'm okay with Nikki. We don't need Nikki and Bree. We do have a bonus goal going in the chat. Again, I had a level up on that one. If you want to get RSPW Rewind, you may or may not hit it, but it's up there in the chat if you want to go ahead and partake. But I will be reading all of your messages in just a little bit. So let's get into this here. That's right. Undertaker came down like Batman. One of the silliest Undertaker entrances, honestly, of his entire career. That was the teardrop Undertaker, where he had the teardrop on his cheek. I'm pretty sure that had the symbolism there. I think a friend of his may have passed away. I don't know who it was. I don't know what the circumstances were, because I always wondered about that. Like, what was with the fucking teardrop? Because, like, after a year, it was gone. But it was just weird. There was never any explanation for it. But yes, he descended from the ceiling as Batman that night. Thankfully, he never did that again. Now, last week in Boston, they opened the show with Triple H in the ring. Because he knew it was all sold out. And he goes, man, I got to make sure I'm a part of this. Maybe he was marking out. He wanted to be a part of John Cena's last segment in Boston. No Triple H tonight to give us a whole speech before John Cena came out. They went on the air, and John Cena was out to the ring to open the show here in New York City. That was Boston. This was NYC. Got a massive reaction here. His final entrance as an active performer here at MSG. So, of course, you had to expect that it was going to be a big reaction here. And even when he got to the ring and he called for the music to be stopped, they kept cheering and chanting his name, and then Alicia Taylor did her introduction for him. They got chants of thank you, Cena. He told them the champ is here. Said MSG has allowed him to perform here for 23 years. Tonight is the last time that they can talk together on Monday Night Raw. And, you know, when he said that, it really hit me that this was his last television appearance. I mean, not just his last Raw appearance, but the last time that he will come to the ring, like he did tonight, for a segment on one of the weekly shows to talk to us and cut a promo. Because the only two dates left are Survivor Series and then Saturday night's main event. That's it. You know, and I'm sure we'll see Cena back on TV at some point, but it'll just be like a hi, how are ya, you know, kind of thing. So, yeah, this was pretty historic in multiple ways tonight. But he goes, it's bittersweet for some, but an important moment for him, and he wants to take a second. Well, I mean, he could take all the time he needs, because he didn't get any further in this promo before he was interrupted by Dominic Mysterio. Made his way out to the ring. No cheers for Dom in New York. I don't care how popular he's been. These segments with Cena, he has gotten, it's like old school Dominic Mysterio. Nothing but he comes down to the ring. It says last week, Cena was handed a title shot, just like he's been handed everything else. Meanwhile, he has fought for everything he has. So he wants a rematch for his Intercontinental title. Cena said he came to the right building. He's not backing down on his last Monday Night Raw. Tonight, it will be John Cena against Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship right here, right now. And Dom looked at him and Dom smirked and said, no. So they already did things Cena's way. He had management on his side. He had his hometown on his side. So now they're going to do it his way. And the fans greeted him with chants of "shut the fuck up." Says, "You want to fight now or not?" And Dom said no. Survivor Series. San Diego, my hometown. Or my backyard. Same shit. Cena told him, "No problem. I accept." Here's where he has a problem, though. He says he told the world that he would have a match on his last Raw. And he sees an opponent right in the middle of the ring. So for tonight, let's forget about this. He said, let's forget about the championship. This will be for San Diego. But tonight, it could be you and me. One-on-one here on Monday Night Raw. And he goes, "Do you feel lucky, Punk?" And I thought that was going to be a cue. They were going to do a tag team match with Cena and Punk as tag team partners. Now, after this, the Judgment Day's music hit. And Finn Balor walks out with JD McDonough. Make their way to the ring. Cena took his shirt off and he was ready for a fight. But it was 3-on-1. And Dom told him, "You're not going to get your final match on Raw, but what you are going to get is your ass beat." And they pounced on him. 3-on-1. Who's going to come out? Sheamus. Sheamus runs down to the ring to make the save, but it was still 3-on-2 until Rey Mysterio came out to even things up, and the Judgment Day got dumped out of the ring. Cena said, "We're going to have a 6-man tag team match right here, right now. It's going to be the Judgment Day against Sheamus, Rey Mysterio, and John Cena." He said, "Get a referee out here," and they went to commercial. So a few things to unpack here. We are getting a rematch with Cena and Dom, and I'm okay with that. You know, I was talking about this the other day, and I'm like, man, I thought they were going to do an open challenge. Right? We didn't know what Cena's final match was going to be. I said, I can see it being an open challenge. The other idea that I floated, and this was something I tweeted, I think, last week, I said, if they're not going to go the way of the open challenge or have him put the belt on the line, watch for a tag team match. Because I can see John Cena and Rey Mysterio as tag team partners against Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio, which is what we got tonight, only they made it a 6-man tag. So instead of Cena and Rey, it was Cena, Rey, and Sheamus. And I have no issue with them adding Sheamus because that will very likely be the last time that we see John Cena and Sheamus work together, because I got news for you. Sheamus ain't winning that tournament. So I'm totally fine with them getting Cena and Sheamus back in the ring together, even if it's on the same side. That was very cool to see. And then you have JD McDonough in there basically as the fall guy. I mean, let's be honest. So that was the match that they made. Cena and Dom in San Diego, I like it just because it's a way to get the championship off of him before they go to Saturday night's main event. There is no need for him to defend that championship in his last match, especially if it's going to be against the man that I think we all know who it's going to be. Now that we know all the names in the tournament, you know, you don't have an Obafemi in the tournament, and Javon Evans isn't winning the tournament. Someone like that would benefit from wrestling John Cena next month and actually taking the title and then getting a run with it on the main roster to, like, start them out. Now that we know it's not going to be anybody like that, there's no fucking point to keeping that championship on him. He has to drop it at Survivor Series. That's it. Plain and simple. And he's going to drop it back to Dom in San Diego. Now, it could have been somebody else, sure. He beat Dom last week. It didn't hurt Dom to be in the ring with John Cena, right? That's not a bad spot for him to be in. And now they're going to have him pay it back, and he's going to do the honors for Dom at Survivor Series. And that's going to be huge for Dominic Mysterio. And yes, he's probably not going to win the belt back clean. I would be shocked, frankly, if he does. But he's going to get his win back, very likely. Going to get the title back. And we won't have to worry about the Intercontinental Championship having anything to do with John Cena's final match, because it should not be about that. It should be about John Cena and whoever his opponent is going to be. And adding a championship to the mix, frankly, only makes things more predictable. Because think about it, it could go either way. John Cena could win. They might want him to get the triumphant, heroic win in his final match, even though if it were up to him, he would probably, lose. Or he might lose. And he probably should lose. But if you throw the championship in there, it just makes it that much more predictable. So for a lot of different reasons, it's good that they're doing this. Whether or not you think it should be Dom, I mean, you can pick nits when it comes to that. But Dom is the future. Like, there are certain guys that you can look at right now on the WWE roster, okay, on the men's side, and it's less than 5. But there are certain names, and there's 3 of them, really, that, actually 4, I think there's 4 of them, that stand out in particular. You've got Obafemi is going to be a massive deal. Unless Triple H just completely fucks him up, Obafemi is going to be a major star for them on the main roster in 2026. So you've got Obafemi, you've got Braun Breaker, right? You've got Jacob Fatu, and you've got Dominic Mysterio. Those 4 right there, and frankly, after what we've seen from him this year, you could throw Javon Evans in there too, but he's still, I mean, look, he'll be on the main roster soon, and he should be, but he's also 21 years old, right? So when we talk about the future and the here and now, Javon Evans can be the here and now in terms of elevating him from NXT to the main roster. Javon Evans, though, is not going to be in the main event mix right now. That's where, you know, a Braun Breaker or a Dom who's got many more years on him on the main roster, those guys will make it there before Javon does. But these 4 or 5 guys, this is the future of the company right here. And I haven't even mentioned any of the women. But this is the future. And Dom's going to be a massive babyface at some point, probably next year. We're probably not going to have to wait that much longer. So if Cena's going to put anybody over, it should be someone like Dominic Mysterio. Right? If you're being honest with yourself, you agree. You know that that's true, that Dom's going to be a big deal for them going forward. So anyway, this match here, it started during the commercial break. Seb says, did LA Knight do anything on the show?
I am the learning tree. Thanks, guys.
I have a feeling that guy right there is going to be his WrestleMania opponent. Speaking of LA Knight. No, LA Knight did not do anything on the show. LA Knight, he won his match against Matt Cardona on Friday.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Yes. On a night where Gunther was back, it's only appropriate that Gunther is back here on the stream. Hey, Bobby's World, getting us started on that goal with the $50 drop. Hey, Bobby, thank you. No, but I was saying, LA Knight, he got a win over Zack Ryder on Friday. So he is technically still in this tournament. He's not going to win, but he is in the tournament. He was not on Raw tonight, though. So this 6-man tag started during the commercial break. What happened was the Judgment Day, they teased bailing before they even got into the ring. So the babyfaces said, fuck this. They left the ring and they fought near fall. Heyman's outside the ring, and he reaches over. He's going to... Loves Joe Hendry, but how many people love Ho Gendry? Thoughts on him there, but...
Hold on, I'm trying to show y'all the other podcasters. I'm very sorry for this. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what the hell taking us. I'm trying to show y'all this other video. I actually hate when it does that, man. It really pisses me off. Alright, now I can show y'all JD from New York.
that is a unbelievable decision, man. I said it since day one. Why would we change this man's theme music when legitimately that theme music just fits him so perfectly? Gunther walking out to that theme music symbolizes that he is the one true weekly final boss of WWE. Now, I heard that it's not the original theme. Some people said that this is the Death Rebel remake. I don't give a fuck what remake it is. If it sounds like his old theme, we're in the ballpark. That's all I need to know. Now we need to get Judgment Day's theme music changed because that shit is fucking horrendous. I'd call up Miles Kennedy. I should have said something to Miles when I went to go see him last week. Call up Alter Bridge, call up Tremonti and said, gentlemen, can we have the rights to the other side? I know Copeland is all about you guys, but can we get the rights to the other side, man? We need to give Judgment Day their theme music back. Hopefully that's the next change. Gunther made his return. He made his return tonight. AJ Lee made her return, and she actually aided in Becky Lynch losing the Intercontinental Championship to one Maxine Dupree, which we'll talk about. We got the return of Dolph motherfucking Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler's back. One night only, because he's with TNA. But my God, man, John Cena came out to open the show. Dolph Ziggler came out about an hour later. Dolph Ziggler and the reaction to Dolph making his return was just as loud, if not louder, than John Cena. It was a great return, and clearly he was very much missed, and I am a big Nick Nemeth fan. He is tremendous in every sense of the word. So we'll talk about that as well. So that's Gunther. AJ Lee made her return. Dolph Ziggler made his return. We got Roman Reigns making his return to WWE after he told the Usos that he'd see them at Christmas. So he will clearly see them for Thanksgiving and Christmas because he'll be in War Games the week of Thanksgiving. Roman came back, and then we got Brock Lesnar, who made his return to the WWE for the first time since WrestlePalooza. He's back. Now, Roman's on Team Punk. Lesnar, as you guys know, as we talked about, is on Team Heyman, Team Vision, and War Games is set, at least for the men's side. The women's War Games is going through some up and downs. So we'll talk about what happened there and what those team members are going to be 5-on-5 going into San Diego at Survivor Series. 5 returns tonight. So we got that. And that alone made it a very newsworthy evening. The biggest thing that happened tonight, in my honest opinion, was the return of Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. I have been very vocal about the build to these War Games matches. The women's match, I'm going to say this again, and I don't really care who clips it. I don't care who finds my comments to be negative or whatever narrative you want to throw out there. I mean this wholeheartedly as a pro wrestling fan because I want better. And right now, we're not really getting better. The women's War Games doesn't really need to happen. I'm tired of the narrative of, oh, we have to have 2, one for the men and one for the women. No, we don't. We have it on a case-by-case scenario. If it matters and if it's needed, then we do it. The men's needs it. It's been building since the Raw after WrestleMania. Or if you want to even go back to WrestleMania, it's been building since then. And before WrestleMania. So yes, the men's War Games match is very much needed. It's the finality of what we've seen play out on television for the last 7 months. The women's is not needed. I am never going to sit here and lie to you guys. The women's match consists of Lash Legend, Nia Jax, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss, all of whom do not belong in the women's War Games. If they wanted to go in another direction, then they could have gone in another direction and better direction. There is no build. No matter how much they want to manufacture tensions between Charlotte and Rhea Ripley and play up the fact that Charlotte's not answering Alexa Bliss's text messages or phone calls like she documented tonight, it doesn't need to happen. There's nothing that warrants the build. Do you want to know why I don't like it? That's number 1. Number two, Triple H is treating the War Game, and this is the big one, folks, so you can clip this if you want to. Triple H is treating the War Games match as in every November thing. Here we are, it's November, it's War Games. Instead of legitimately building something up where it warrants the match taking place, like he did with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. How long before that didn't we see a Hell in a Cell? We got Hell in a Cell back, and they put those two guys in there. No shenanigans, no fun and games, no bullshit, no escaping the cage, because the cage is supposed to keep everything contained within. And we got blood, and the feud mattered, and the Hell in a Cell was warranted for the feud because of what happened throughout the entire year. One match, two match, and the third match, the final match happened in there, and it ended the feud. Any more questions? And no, it wasn't over a fucking bracelet like the AW sickos seem to think. No, the feud was not built up over a fucking bracelet. Okay? Sorry that your guy can't tell consistent stories. And we got two money matches at Full Gear now, by the way. One for $1 million and another one for $200,000, man. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's jizzing the fact, or jizzing off over the fact that Tony Khan's got two money matches at Full Gear, man. Oh, man. Fucking ridiculous. The Women's War Games doesn't need to happen. I don't give a fuck who says what to me in what context. It doesn't need to happen. Now, the men's War Games. Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, the Usos, and Roman Reigns. It's a great fucking team. That's an all-star team. Stars. Stars. Something that the men's Blood and Guts match didn't have. On the other side, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, and Brock Lesnar. Stars! Also something the men's Blood and Guts match didn't have. Stars. We've talked about this, and we've predicted this. We've seen the vision, no pun intended. No matter how predictable it is, and no matter how many people have predicted that this was going to be the way, you look at those teams, man, and it's very difficult to not like what is going on there. That is one hell of a fucking match. Honestly. And something that honestly encapsulates War Games. Obviously, we got Punk and the Vision. Now, granted, Rollins is not there, but Punk and the Vision has basically been something that's been happening all year. We got Punk and the Vision. Punk has had history with Brock Lesnar. One of the best SummerSlam matches ever. It's Brock Lesnar versus CM Punk. And then, obviously, we just talked about CM Punk and Drew McIntyre get to relive their feud inside War Games. So clearly, Heyman is kind of sticking it to CM Punk here with Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar, and then obviously Logan Paul, who's had a thing or three to say about CM Punk, and in the past they were in the Elimination Chamber together. Then you look at Cody Rhodes, who granted wrestled Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel, who he's not in this match, but, you know, he's had his problems with Heyman in the past, obviously, so it's just in a different context. He's got his problems with Paul Heyman. Cody has obviously had his history with Brock Lesnar, if you guys remember, 3 years ago. We still didn't get an explanation as to why they were even feuding, by the way. So he's got his history with Brock Lesnar. He's got his history with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre was added to make sense of why Cody was even there. But Cody also has history with not only Paul Heyman, but Brock Lesnar. So Drew McIntyre is basically the catalyst to get Cody Rhodes into the match. And then you add Lesnar and the Vision overall. And Cody Rhodes very much belongs in that dynamic. I'd much rather see them in that dynamic than yet another one-on-one match where Cody Rhodes either has to win and beat Drew McIntyre or drop the WWE title to Drew McIntyre, and WWE doesn't want to drop the title to Drew McIntyre. So McIntyre being there is a great reason to get Cody involved. So he belongs. Then you got Roman. We all know Roman's history with Brock Lesnar. That doesn't need to be stated. Obviously, Drew McIntyre and Roman have a history. McIntyre, at the beginning of the year, targeted the bloodline and wanted to take out everybody that he felt wronged him. In my honest opinion, if you guys remember, Drew McIntyre should have been the one-on-one match for Roman Reigns. I was lobbying for that match to happen at WrestleMania because I think that made the most sense. They didn't do that. Now, granted, we got a great triple threat match, probably the best triple threat match all year with Roman, Punk, and Rollins. Night one main event of WrestleMania. But McIntyre, I do believe, should have wrestled Roman. Instead, McIntyre got Damian Priest, which was a fine match, but it wasn't anywhere near the caliber of a WrestleMania match for Drew or near the caliber of a Roman Reigns. So, yes, they have history. And obviously, we all want to see Reigns and Breakker, which is the next big match that everybody's anticipating. So, yes, Roman being back, and then obviously the Usos and the Vision, they've wrestled. Usos and Lesnar, obviously, backing up Roman and McIntyre. Everybody's got something to do with each other. It's a collection of stars that have ongoing issues or had ongoing issues from years past. And it's all collectively coming to a boil inside War Games. This may be the one War Games match out of everything we've seen so far on the main roster that I'm genuinely excited for because of all the combustible elements in this match and all the history in this match. It's perfect. It is a perfect recipe for what a War Games match should be. Could the build be better? Could the build have been longer? Could we have gotten all these guys on the weekly shows to make all the weekly shows for the last several weeks feel a little bit more important than they have? Yes. If you're going into War Games, I want to see it stretched out further instead of just, hey, you know what, we got 3 weeks left to go. Let's get everybody on board now and get these teams assigned and these matches announced. I just feel like that's kind of lazy. And I feel like WWE is taking, and Triple H is taking the fans for granted because they already have 35,000 tickets out the door. They didn't really need to announce anything because they're on their way to a sellout. And now with these matches being announced, he had to put in very little effort because of the star power that he has at his disposal. And it's going to push the ticket threshold over sellout for WWE in San Diego. I just think the WWE and Triple H takes their fans for granted. It takes advantage of the paying customer. I do. They should be a little bit more aware that the build needs a little bit more oomph. I'm not really feeling that. Now, granted, tonight's close was a very good way to go off the air. And it was exciting, and I'm sure everybody got their money's worth to see Cody and Punk and Lesnar, and Reigns and Lesnar, and Cody and Lesnar. It's great. But I want to see a little bit more effort going into these matches. So my opinion stands. The men's is going to be a tremendous match. You look at these teams and they're fucking ridiculous. Ridiculous. How don't you like that? Now, I just called out the laziness of how everything came about and how we need to stretch it out. The build needs to be stretched out a little bit more. But that's not going to stop me from enjoying the fucking collective of the 10 guys that are in there. And they're absolutely going to bring the war. And war. Can you imagine Lesnar in a War Games match? Can you imagine the unhinged nature of Lesnar inside a War Games match? That alone is a great selling point. I just hope that nobody gets killed in that cage. We'll talk about what we'd like to see coming out of that a little bit later as we get closer to Survivor Series. The women, they don't really need much of a match, but we'll talk about the women a little bit later because not only did Becky Lynch lose the Intercontinental Championship to Maxine Dupree thanks to AJ Lee, but Rhea Ripley confronted AJ Lee and said, "Do you have time for a little chat?" And they were arm in arm and walked off together. So it looks like, to me, without actually needing to hear anything, that AJ Lee is going to be a part of War Games. Charlotte's back on board. AJ Lee's going to be there, and she's going to be co-captains with Rhea Ripley. And then Becky Lynch is going to be enlisted by Asuka. So that's going to play out there. You see, everybody has a history with one another in the men. in the men's War Games. That's less of a narrative in the women's. I just feel like there's just taking a bunch of feuds and bunching them together and then calling it War Games, much of which doesn't even warrant the War Games cage. So, we will definitely go over that, but that is the current direction for the women's War Games. Maxine Dupree's the new Intercontinental Champion. We'll talk about why she won the Intercontinental Championship and where I do think that we are going with her as the new champion. I do not think that it's going to be a long and fruitful reign. I do think that we have a certain judgment day coming as far as Maxine's reign as Intercontinental Champion. Wink, wink. We'll talk about that. Gunther and Javon Evans. Commercial after commercial after fucking commercial on Netflix. We got 2 commercials during this match. Did we really need 2 commercials during this match? We had 6 minutes of commercials during this match. Did we really need 6 minutes of fucking commercial during this match? No. They gotta choose their spots better on where to put a commercial. That's not it. It's not it. Evans and Gunther, what we saw was a great match. Dolph Ziggler returns. I wish he was back full time. He's way too good for TNA. Way too good. He belongs on the main stage. Ziggler's back, at least for one night only, against Solo Sikoa. And WWE deflated 18,000 inside Madison Square Garden by going with the Anoa'i family. Of course he did, because he loves his Samoans. Man, I can't wait for that LA Knight and Solo Sikoa match. Fucking ridiculous. And then obviously John Cena, whether you like him or not, whether you like the way that they used him tonight or not, it was his final Monday Night Raw appearance ever. He was in a 6-man tag team match against the Judgment Day. And his tag team partners were 2 guys that I think a lot of people would have loved to see him go one-on-one with. I'll tell you why he didn't go one-on-one with them, and I'll tell you who his tag team partners were tonight on the Monday Night Raw post show right here on Off the Script. It is your Monday, 11/17/2025. Thank you guys for joining me tonight, man. We got 2,500 people in here. I missed you guys, man. I take one night off from streaming. It's like, man, I can't wait to get back to streaming. I can't wait to get back to the lab and start working. I had a very good reason why I missed Friday's stream, even though I did give you like a mini review. I uploaded a video yesterday. You guys can go check that out. We talked about SmackDown going back to 3 hours in January, why they're going back to 3 hours, and what I thought of Zack Ryder's return to WWE for one night only, Drew McIntyre joining the Vision, and the Jey Uso and Miz match in the tournament. Charlotte Flair also walking out on Team Rhea. So go check that out. It's on the homepage. I had a very good reason for missing Friday's stream. I actually attended the Miles Kennedy and Wolfgang Van Halen concert, Mammoth concert in Montclair, New Jersey, man. Tremendous show. I remember seeing Wolfgang live in concert during the last Alter Bridge tour, where they opened for Alter Bridge. Great show that was, but I went into that not knowing who they were or what he was about. I walked out with a certain appreciation for what they did. I went back and I listened to their stuff, and I definitely couldn't...
I'm honestly so glad I got this. It's this little fireplace aroma diffuser. The flame looks super real.
John Cena opens the show. Inside Madison Square Garden, he made his entrance. Fans are chanting for Cena. Cena. There's no, let's go Cena. Cena sucks. We didn't hear any of that in the last 3 or 4 months. Everybody wants to see John Cena ride off into the sunset the way he needs to, on top. We had this great drone shot flying around Madison Square Garden, man. Holy shit, did they pack that fucking building in for this night, man. Wow. Cena's entrance theme came to a close. Fans continued to cheer. Thank you, Cena. He said, man, do I enjoy and welcome that enthusiasm. Now, we were 10 minutes into the show at this point, and they were going to give John Cena all the time that he wanted. He sped it up, did it last week in Boston, and gave John Cena the win and crowned him the new Intercontinental Champion. So a lot of people were like, well, where does that leave Cena? Is Cena going to wrestle somebody else one-on-one for the Intercontinental Championship? Or is John Cena going to join the babyface team and make it an all-star team for Survivor Series? Now, granted, Cena's inclusion would have made sense if Lesnar was there. And McIntyre wanted Cena as well. So, if they wanted to go that route, they very well could have. And they could have gave us Dominic versus Rey Mysterio at Survivor Series. They didn't do either of those things. Rey's not on the card. I'm assuming he'll be in the building, but he's not on the card. They put Roman Reigns in War Games, and they gave John Cena Dominic for a second time for the Intercontinental Championship. I explicitly said last week, I am not a fan of Dominic, or anybody for that matter, getting 2 matches in a single year against John Cena when the matches are very rare and hard to come by. He only has so many to give out. Why are we going to give 2 to one guy?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how you guys feel about it. I don't mind Dominic being the one to get a second match because he is someone that everyone looks up to. He is somebody that everyone looks towards as being the future of the company. He is a hot commodity. And he's one of the bright young guys in that company that is going to lead the company into the future for years and years to come. Because he's growing into his own man. And he deserves it. I don't like that Dominic's getting 2 matches out of everybody else this year when everybody else got 1.
Except for Coney.
But it's Dominic.
Yeah.
And it goes hand in hand with what John Cena wanted in his final last appearances. He wants to give back to the future. I won't be surprised if this is a John Cena decision. I took the belt off this young kid, and you wanted to make a moment with me. Now we're going to San Diego, where it's this kid's hometown, and we're going to make a moment for him. Because it's going to be very interesting to see the reaction in San Diego, where John Cena is on his retirement tour, but then on the opposite side, you got the hometown kid in Dominic Mysterio in San Diego. It is going to be a very volatile environment. In a good way. So yes, Dominic's getting the one thing that nobody else got this year, and that's 2 matches against John Cena. So when you look at it that way, do I mind? No. But I'm going to be a little real with you guys, like I usually am. I'm not interested in seeing this match again. Is it going to be better than what we got on Raw? I hope so. It's a PLE match. It should. That was a TV match for a moment. This should be a better booked and produced match. I hope they don't go and just keep it as simple could be. That match last week felt very much like a house show match. They're both going to have to turn up the fucking heat. Because John Cena's last PLE matches were all bangers. So to keep that in line with what we're going to get on December 13th, we got to keep that momentum going. John Cena can't go in there and give us a fucking dud. We gave it a pass in Boston because it was a moment. Crowd went home happy because John Cena beats Dominic Mysterio for the IC title. This Raw appearance for JD? Yeah. We're setting up for Nick Aldis' return to the ring at WrestleMania against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. I genuinely wonder that. Because they got some tensions between those two guys as of late. Maybe that's the way. And if that is the way, there is no better opponent for Nick Aldis than Drew McIntyre. Heyman walked in as they were talking about him and said he sensed anger from both of them. I apologize. He says that they're both in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations, but what I did was within the rules and within the regulations. He says if they think his 4th pick of his war, this Asuka pitched Bayley.
Well, I might as well just end the video. I made it long enough. Until next time, hit that like. Oh, actually, wait a minute. I know that NXT is still on. We still got Solomon and JD. Still on the TNT.
You know, dying to get that opportunity.
What?
But I didn't get the chance.
You may actually have a winninger record than LA Knight this year, I would say.
I think I might, although the scary thing is he has more matches, I think, than maybe anybody else in WWE.
Oh, God damn it. Why does it always happen? Alright.
Matches, I think, than maybe anybody else in WWE. If he's not number one, he's number two. I think it's between him and Dom. So he's had a lot of matches, he just doesn't have a lot of key wins.
We'll see what happens with LA Knight, man. You know, a lot of people are still saying he belongs in War Games, and it is kind of silly that he's not in War Games against the Vision, whom he's been battling all year. But I think the LA Knight enthusiasts, bro, I think they're going to be in for a rude awakening when he doesn't win the last time is now tournament.
Yeah, I mean, the way things are shaping up, maybe he'll fall to Gunther in the finals.
John Cena to return to NXT to reveal the Iron Man. So we are going to see John Cena on NXT.
You know, I don't want to see that.
I don't necessarily want to see that either, but yeah, they're both in the tournament, they're both moving on, and what I don't want to see is another Gunther Jey Uso match. So I certainly hope that if that option is between those two, I will happily take Gunther and LA Knight. I've seen enough of Gunther and Jey Uso to last me a lifetime.
You had to put it out there, didn't you? Already. We didn't even start the show. You're making wanted to see him actually wrestle one-on-one, but we didn't get that. No time to do that, so the best thing to do is pair them up in a tag team match. So that's what we got with John Cena. Mike Santana will talk about him losing the TNA Championship in a very bizarre situation there. I don't know why they did it, but I have my...
Yeah, my boy, just end the video. I made it long enough. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support. Hit that like button. Leave a comment. Please subscribe to my channel. I think we talked about Raw and SmackDown. We talked about the news and rumors. We talked about AEW Full Gear preview and predictions. I will do a live stream for SmackDown this Friday. We'll see how that show is. Anyway, I'll see y'all later.